It's time for questions at the local Climate Solutions for Africa conference in Cape Town, South Africa. With me is Mayor Obed Mlaba from the city of Durban. City of Durban will be hosting the next United Nations Climate Conference, also known as COP17, later this year. But let me ask Mayor Mlaba a personal question first. You are an experienced politician, and you are a man of great experience and wisdom. If you imagine we would now have a 10-year-old girl or boy in front of us, and this boy or girl would ask, how will the world look like in 40 years when I'll be 50, in the year 2050? What would you say? What is your vision of how the world would look like in 50 years from now, or 40 years from now?
Well, thank you very much. That is a very strong philosophical question, which has got so many parts to it. I'm sure I could sit and write books and books about it. But in short, I think first and foremost, I'm a very religious person. I respect my Creator, and I think in our push by our own greed as human beings, we have not managed well the natural resources that are out there, which have, I think, interfered with the system that is created by our Creator, our Maker. And therefore, the child that you're talking about, in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years to come, will suffer a lot if we don't turn things around now. I think, just to sum it, someone once said that where we are right now, we are not dealing with what we inherited from our forefathers, but we are dealing with what we borrowed from our own children. And if we were to sum it up in that fashion, our greed should be curtailed to the extent that we are able to leave the same earth with all the beautiful gifts that God gave to it, and be able to hand it over to our children, rather than to destroy it once and for all, simply because we see power either in money or in whatever way over others. I think there is enough for all of us if we could just manage our greed and manage it well. So my view is that climate change is an effect caused by the way we handle our greed in the world. And we need to manage that so that we are able to live enough for many, many generations to come, so that they enjoy the same beautiful earth that we inherited.
You have given the example of climate change. And climate is indeed one of the elements of nature that we have inherited. Climate stability is what we have inherited. So, who should be safeguarding the climate? Looking at the world of institutions, which bodies or which mechanisms would be the right ones to take care of a global common good such as climate, which is not bound to a territory, not bound to a city alone, not bound to a country alone, but which is shared globally?
I think humanity, all of it, must take full blame and full responsibility for ensuring that we live in a livable climate, in the world that has got future for our generations. I think this power business that we had in the world is, we've gone too much with it. I think we forget that the only source of power that is out there is God. We can play with the power that we have in the world, but it's always short-lived. I remember when I was born, you were talking of the superpowers. I'm not so sure whether there are any superpowers anymore because of the emerging new economic powers out there. But unless themselves, as they emerge, they do not carry on in the manner in which the former powers did, we are running that risk. So I think in Durban, these are the kind of discussions that need to be ensued and be taken quite seriously. That is that power over everybody does not help if that power destroys, because you end up being power to yourself. We have no one to rule. But if power is about sharing the resources of the world and ensuring that all humanities live in a comfortable way, then your power is effective because you are able to share and you are still able to leave a lot for the future generations to come. I think if all our leaders, both politicians and the business, particularly the business people, sometimes they hide behind politicians. Actually, they are the ones who sometimes perpetuate too much of greed to the extent of destroying communities where they're either extracting certain minerals or whatever. My point is, we all have this world to share, and we all have people that we lead, and we must lead in such a manner that we are able to leave a good legacy from where our future generations will take off.
So what you have just explained suggests that it cannot be just the United Nations, meaning the national governments, to take care in a full and comprehensive sense of the global climate. It cannot be just the business sector.
Absolutely.
It cannot just be private households.
Absolutely.
It cannot only be scientists. How can you envisage, can one work together and create a mechanism that helps and ensures that we safeguard the global climate?
I believe Africa has a huge role to play as one of the less developed continents in the whole world, and still with a lot of resources that it can, if it utilizes good leadership, if it minimizes greed, and if Africa works together, and if Africa focuses on the development of the continent, Africa can indeed come out being a winner, because we still have a lot that we can pull together, bearing in mind that we also have a lot of natural resources that are God-endowed and God-given to us if we look after themselves. So we still have a chance. All we need is to work together and have this supervision that says everything that is out there we can share and share equally well, both with existing communities, but also with the future generations that are to come. Otherwise, we are all going to sink, and when we sink, the whole world is gone.
Considering where we need to go in our cities and communities, we have to go a low-carbon development path. We have to adapt the cities to make them resilient to climate change and to disasters. We have to adjust our consumption levels to what nature provides. Do you think you and your work have made a difference?
I think in the last 15 years of my being a mayor of Durban, yes, indeed, very measurable attempts have been made to make an impact into the lives of the people. There's still a lot to go, bearing in mind where we all come from, where we were separated as different communities, either by race or class or whatever. There's still a lot to go, but I think within the given space, time space that we have done quite considerably. We are the first, for instance, in Africa to extract methane gas from the landfills and produce electricity out of that. We're going ahead now to the next level where we're looking at taking waste directly from wherever we pick it from into a plant or a huge machinery and producing electricity there and then. which is a much more better technology from methane or from incineration to a higher level as we get all these creations of new technologies out there. We are one city that is always prepared to try all the new and experiment and find that which is the best solution. And I think if most of our cities, most of our mayors could be able to do that, I think we could, all of us, see a lot of change in the lives of the people for the better. Because unless you are prepared to experiment, we are not going to know what is the potential.
And Durban is actually known worldwide as a city of initiative and innovation.
Absolutely.
So congratulations on your achievement.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Now let me ask one unavoidable question. Your city will host, as we noted before, the UN Climate Conference COP17. What are your expectations of the outcomes?
One, the expectations of the outcomes must be such that we see as much of Africa, as I said, congregating behind one purpose, and a purpose that sends the message that Africa has a potential to grow, but grow being much more greener, much more compliant of the new challenges that we are faced with right now. I think Africa has got that. The second point is one would like to see more of our leaders, both in business and politicians, talking honestly and avoiding self-righteousness and being able to concede where mistakes have been made and face those mistakes head on and be able to move on with the right methodologies and right attitudes going forward. Because unless we agree where we make mistakes, we will forever be apart. And that to me is the danger between the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, that people just do not see the need to concede that indeed we've made mistakes.
Thank you, Mayor Obed Mlaba from the city of Durban, South Africa. This was time for real questions at the local Climate Solutions for Africa Congress in Cape Town.
Thank you.